Ho, 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 my bitches, and welcome to the 29th podcast with your boy Angelo. This is the Christmas edition of said podcast. We're going to cover a couple things Christmas related. We're going to cover my childhood with Christmas and, later how I've been dealing with it, Christmas this year, and then I'm going to talk about some of my favorite Christmas movies, and I'm going to talk shit about some too. So prepare your anuses, because here we go. Actually, before we dive in, let's get some fun stuff out of the way. Go Hawks. I mean, I know it was against one of the worst teams in NFL history, but still a win's a win. And even though the Rams kicked the shit out of the Patriots, that hurts. It was nice to see that we finally beat a team that we should beat. And not only was it not a close game, it was a blowout from the get-go. So, good job. I also want to give a good shout out to a couple things going on in the world of politics. My God, LaFonda, you're loud. Get out of here, you're ISIS. Get out of here. Anyway, I want to give a big shout out to my boy Bernie Sanders and the Republican Hawley. I forget his first name. Jeff Hawley? I don't know. Hawley something. They did a Senate speech together, which was amazing. It was talking about basically why is there no stimulus check and why hasn't there been stimulus checks this whole time? And it's good to see a Democrat like Bernie and a Republican like Hawley coming together and saying this is outrageous, that we can fund tax cuts, we can fund bailouts, we can fund endless wars, but we can't fund during the pandemic. We can't fund our own people. It's disgusting. And I would recommend watching their Senate speech they did together. It was a very nice speech, and I'm all for the bill, obviously. I don't think it has a chance in hell of passing, but it's good to see there's some people that still have some brains in politics there in the Senate. Now, I'm no fan of Hawley overall. He's a real piece of dog shit. But on this one bill, I love him. Go Hawley. You know what I'm saying? You got to get the wins when you can. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I'm going to commend the now fired Attorney General Bill Barr. Bill Barr, overall, he's a monster, and he should be walked out into the woods and pull a little Dick Cheney on him, Anyhow, but I got to give him kudos for a couple different things. For keeping his mouth shut during the election in regarding this Hunter Biden FBI investigation. And say what you will about the merits of it. It's a merit enough for the FBI to investigate. And where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't think it's a giant fire. I don't think it's like a California wildfire or one of those Australian fires. But I think some shady shit was done using the Biden's name. And plus, he was a crackhead. What are you going to do? I know, you like Hunter Biden. I know, LaFonda. Anyhow, I also want to commend Bill Barr for saying that there was no election fraud. He came right out and said it. And then, of course, that probably got him fired. But still, for him being hailed as the Antichrist and a Trump crony that's going to guarantee Trump the election, and you heard all these crazy conspiracy theories regarding Bill Barr. And again, I'm not defending him. Again, he's a real cunt bag. However, he wasn't the absolute monster that was going to rip apart this country and, make it just a capitalistic religious hellhole. I mean, he probably would if he could, but he didn't do it. And he didn't make the election fraudulent by saying fake shit. And he kept his mouth shut when his opponent basically was going through an FBI investigation. You wish James Comey would have kept his fucking mouth shut. Trump never probably would have been elected. That's just a theory of mine, but I think it's a pretty common sense one. So, hell, Bill Barr did a better job than James Comey. Who would have thought? Also, I want to give a shout out to... Oh yeah, the three Supreme Court justices that Donald Trump nominated. And again, like Bill Barr, everyone said the Supreme Court now has so many Trump appointees, they're going to do whatever Trump wants. Again, bullshit. All three of his Supreme Court appointees that got sworn in, what the hell is their names? There's the Kavanaugh, the Amy Coney Barrett, and the first bitch. I forget that guy's name. It's not Gorsuch. Is it Gorsuch? Could have been Gorsuch. And all three of them voted no on the overturning the election results by the traitors in Texas and all the traitorous Republicans that signed on to that bill to invalidate the election because they don't stand for democracy or anything that makes this country America. So Those names should be remembered, and whenever they come up for election, you should see that they voted against the nation, and they're traitors. Anyhow, I gotta give kudos to the three. They could have done what all the conspiracy theorists are saying. Oh, this is their chance. The Supreme Court's gonna give the election to Trump. Well, they didn't. They didn't. They did what was right. And the only two that voted for it, those fucking assholes, Alito and, who's the black guy? Brown? Nah, whatever. You know who I'm talking about. They basically were going to vote against it, but they were willing to listen to something. And before they showed it, like, I guess there wasn't enough information. I don't know. They voted for it, but it wasn't like they believed that the election was fraudulent. They basically were saying, well, we're willing to hear something. I mean, obviously, it should have been unanimously called bullshit and thrown out of court, but what are you going to do? So I got to give credit where credit's due. I'm no fan of most of these people besides Bernie Sanders, Hawley, Barr, and the three Supreme Court justices. But again, you have to respect both sides. I think at the start of next year, maybe I'll do a roundup of my opinion of the Trump presidency, if that would interest any of y'all. Go over the very few things that I think he did a good job on. Yes, and they're massively outweighed by the just infinite amount of awful, narcissistic, sexist, racist, homophobic things that he did. And again, give him the old Dick Cheney treatment too. But all joking aside, seriously, I think if this country just did a better job of not seeing black and white on just everything because you have a D or an R next to your name, or you disagree on one or two things, therefore that person must fit all of the stereotypes. You have to work with what you got sometimes. I mean, you can strive to make things better, and you can keep talking to that individual and trying to change their mind, but you have to go about it the right way. You know, talking over them, yelling at them, shouting at them, demanding that they're wrong, you're right, and only you know what's right, and they all know what they're doing. You know, it's just disgusting. We're not going to get anywhere in this country if you can't see that people aren't your enemies because you disagree on some things, you know? Move on with your lives. Anywho, let's move on to Christmas. Well, I think a good place to start is to address the elephant in the room, which is COVID and quarantine and all that jazz has really been mucking up all holidays this year for the most part. I vaguely remember having a fun time on New Year's Eve, 2019 to 2020. So what I'm trying to say here is COVID has really kind of ruined holidays for me this year. And I don't think I'm alone in that sentiment. Certainly my most favorite holiday, which is Halloween, was definitely ruined. And I was so excited when I bought this house to decorate for Halloween and Christmas and other holidays. And I want to host. That was another big thing when I bought this house, is that I could just see so much potential for parties and get-togethers and shindigs, you know, events, man. And so that's really a big bummer. But, you know, I just have to have some patience and hope for a better outcome in 2021 in terms of hosting and holidays, because, again, I don't think I'm alone in saying this. It really doesn't feel like a jolly ho-ho good time, you know. I ain't hanging mistletoes up. I'm not hanging stockings up. I don't have a Christmas tree up, no lights. It just doesn't feel like it. And now that I live in the suburbs here in a nice cul-de-sac community, I for sure would have thought all these people, all my neighbors would have lights up. But it's affecting a lot of people. I think only 2 houses on the block have decorations up. And yeah, it just doesn't really seem like a normal Christmas, because it's not. What do you expect? People are mopey. And more importantly, people are broke. Everything is pretty shitty right now in terms of finances for the mass majority of Americans. Somehow during this pandemic, the rich got richer, but the poor got poorer, baby. Poverty's on the rise. So, and I don't think this Christmas is going to be turning things around anytime soon. But yeah, not to get all depressed and everything, but no decorations, nothing. I did buy some presents for some family and friends, and I have been given presents. So there still is the gift exchange and the generosity and the friendship and all that stuff. So that's still around, but you don't need a holiday for that. You used to do that shit all the time. Just do it all the time. Who cares? And so, but I guess it's the overall capitalistic outcome of Christmas that I really don't feel this year, because the older I've gotten, the more I've liked to decorate. In the condo, I would decorate every year. I've never been a big fan of Christmas lights, only because I think I'm freaked out to do it. I've never really done them before. I think when I was a kid, I would help my mom or dad out, but then once I got to a certain age, they said, fuck it. See, that was another thing. Neither of my parents were real big holiday partiers or holiday revelers. They really didn't care. They cared more when I was a kid, but once I got to a certain age, they said, fuck it. My sister was big on it, so that kind of rubbed off a little bit on me. And so when I bought this house, I thought, oh shit, now I can go ham. I could get Christmas lights and lawn furniture. And, I really wanted to test myself and see if I would do a good job, or, just see if it was something I would like to do. But again, we need a better word for that. The COVID blues has kind of Charlie Browned the whole Christmas. So, but I will say, I do like seeing friends and family on social media showing their Christmas decorations and stuff. So that still is cool. And I'm not hating Christmas music as much as I normally do. It's still, kind of shite. But there just has, I'm just not feeling that excitement about it. And I don't think I'm the only one here. So, anyways, fingers crossed for a better Christmas in 2021. It's going to be here before you know it. And other cliche sayings. But enough of the Christmas present. Let's talk about the Christmas past. So like I said earlier, when I was a kid, up until, I would say early middle school, it was pretty festive around the house. Now, my parents divorced when I was 3. And I remember seeing childhood photographs of me as a baby and, as an infant and whatnot. And a lot of Christmas photos. And then when my parents divorced, my father still had a tree a few years because he had the house. My mom and sister and I lived in a apartment, not a lot of room for trees, but still we decorated. But I distinctly remember one year my father asking me, do you want a Christmas tree this year? And I had already stopped believing in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy by then. And I'll get to that later, because at an early age, I on my own discovered that there was no such thing as Santa Claus. Spoiler alert, and sorry if you have children, I should have said spoiler alert. Santa spoiler! So, and I told my dad, not really. I don't really care. And I even remember my mom asking me that too, because the year prior, it was such a headache. I remember I had to do a lot of the cleanup because I was insisting that we get a tree. And when we did, I could tell my mom did not want it in the house, and she kind of told me, this is your project. You've seen how we put a tray up every year. This is your baby now. And I said, whatever. And I just had it was a horrible experience. I didn't like it. I kept getting sap all over the place. There was always nettles. The cats kept fucking with it. My sister helped a little bit, but my mom was like, you want it, it's yours. And so that's when I was like, okay, maybe we don't need to go balls to the wall. But that's kind of how I was raised. And I try to, in my mind, I want to kind of branch out and do not crazy decorations, but I want to have enough decoration that when someone comes in the house, they can be like, oh, okay, he's pretty excited about Christmas. That's all. But not crazy, not overboard. But anyway, let's go back to me and Santa Claus. So, I must have been 5 or 6, relatively young, when I decided that there was no Santa Claus. And it was because we were living in a apartment, and all the movies and TV shows and the books and all the music, blah, 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 about Santa Claus is always, he's coming down your chimney. And I distinctly remember looking at the fake fireplace that we had in the apartment. And then I realized, well, I'm on the 2nd floor of a 3-story apartment building, and there's like 4 or 5 apartments in each level, and no one really has a real fireplace. How is Santa Claus coming in here down the fireplace? And that's when I kind of realized, oh, yeah, that's not possible. So even at a young age, I was asking why, you know. I was a real Debbie Downer then, too. No, I'm not a Debbie Downer. I take that back. And I asked my mom about it, and she played along a little bit. Or she kept trying to play, oh, no, no, he has his ways. It's magic. But I could tell she was grasping at straws. I talked to the old man about it, and he said, well, you know, it's for children, so believe if you want to believe. But he didn't outright say it, but, you know, that's all I needed to hear. But I remember not being a cunt back then. I didn't go to school and tell all my buddies. I kind of kept it to myself and played along. And for a couple of years after, I would get Christmas presents from Santa, and I knew it was because my mom liked doing it or my sister liked doing it. My dad never really did it. But definitely, I had older family members that still thought I believed in Santa Claus, probably up until I was in high school. I don't know if that says more about me or about them. But I still liked Christmas regardless that at a young age I realized Santa was all kind of horse shit. But still, it's kind of like the Bible to me. There's things you can take out of it that are good. You read the Bible, you read about Santa Claus, you're like, a lot of it's made up and overblown and a lot of interpretations and opinions, but it makes a good story and you learn a few good lessons and just don't be a dick to people and be nice. And it all should balance out. I really wish everyone lived like that. And I even remember the Easter Bunny as roughly the same time. Because I remember I was in Sunday school and they were teaching us about what Easter was all about. And me, being the inquisitive little shit I was, I raised my hand and I said, what is this? When do we get to the rabbits and the egg hiding? Like, oh, and they never could really answer how they would tell us a story from the Bible about Easter and then Easter bunnies and like hiding eggs. And like, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. And that's when I kind of put two and two together. I was like, oh, okay, it's not a real thing. The Easter bunny's not real. Oh man, the tooth fairy ain't real either. No, I think the tooth fairy not being real really hurt my mom because I told her that I didn't think I believed in the tooth fairy, and she was like, oh, like I think she wanted to play that a lot, like she had plans for the tooth fairy in her life. And you know what? To this day, my mom still gets kind of not. I wouldn't say she gets upset, but I could tell that she gets a little sad in a certain way that I don't believe in certain mystical things that she does. Like she believes in guardian angels and ghosts and angels. I don't know if angels are separate from guardian angels. Sure. I assume she believes in like exorcists and demons. I don't know. We haven't really talked about that stuff. Every now and then we're talking about something and she'll say something about, oh, spirit or whatever, or do I believe in something? And I'm like, nah, I don't believe in that stuff, but if you do, that's fine. And I could just tell that she's like, oh, I just wish that you didn't just dismiss things so quickly. And when I told her about the tooth fairy, it was the first time I saw that and I heard that tone in her voice. She was like, oh, really? No tooth fairy for you? My dad, on the other hand, really didn't care. Did not really care. I mean, my father stopped even giving us presents, so to speak, when I was in probably high school. He just gave me a check and said, hey, here's $100. Which, hey, money sometimes is the best present. I've been given a lot of presents that I did not like, and I wish I had the money that they spent on this. Just give it to me. And so I kind of was raised like at an early age to not really put an emphasis on this kind of stuff. But the older I got, and once I got out of my angst years, I swear to God, my angst years lasted from late middle school until like mid-20s. And now I can really appreciate the idea of Christmas, the idea of Santa Claus, and even the ideas of things like the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and everything. I was also going to throw in Jesus and God, but I didn't want to piss people off. I'm not saying you're on the same level. I'm not saying the Tooth Fairy and Jesus are on the same level. I'm saying that sometimes the ideology behind them are on the same level. And there you go. That's how you walk on eggshells, LaFonda. But yeah, Christmas as a kid was fun around my part. You know, I went to that private school, and there was a lot of my friends with money, and so I was always going to a lot of nice, lavishly decorated houses. And I distinctly remember my first like fancy party that I went to with my mom, because I believe my mother at the time worked for, was it Children's Hospital? I think she worked for Children's Hospital. And it was their big Christmas party for the hospital held at some rich doctor's house. I don't know. I was pretty young. I was like 7 or 8. But that was the first time I had to dress up to go anywhere. That's one of the few times in my life my mom had to talk to me before, and she basically said, be in your best behavior. Don't be a little shit. Don't curse. Just, be nice. But I was happy. I was excited to meet new people. And that was the first time in my life where I remember looking at this giant house and I saw like waiters and like staff. And I remember thinking, holy shit, this is what I see on TV and movies. These people are fucking loaded. And that was the first time in my life I ever had caviar. Some rich waspy kid came over, and I don't know why. In my head, he was British. I'm 99% sure he wasn't British, but for the sake of the podcast, I'm going to say he was British. He was like, "Hello, are you new here?" And I said, "Yeah, I've never been here before." And again, these are stoned memories, so who knows? But I distinctly remember a rich waspy kid gave me some caviar. I said, "What is it?" He said, "It's caviar, it's fish eggs." And I said, "Gross." And he said, "No, eat it. Everyone eats it." And I looked and I saw all these other rich kids eating it. But I ate caviar. I didn't like it. And then he told me to put some cream cheese in it. And I thought that would help. And no, I didn't like it. And then I stopped talking to the kid because I'm saying, dude, your opinion is nothing to me because you're giving me food I don't like. And you're talking like I should like the food. I don't like this. And that's when my distrust of the wealthy started. Stop telling me what I should do. Just let me do what I want to do. And I remember I was walking around the house and walking in the bedrooms and looking around like, damn, this place is awesome. I used to do that a lot as a kid. I remember I used to help out at the church on Sundays when my mom would be staying after to do the music or some stuff, and I was staying behind. And with these other kids, it was also, the church was in the same building as the classroom. So it was like a school church kind of deal. And I remember I used to walk among the classrooms and check out like the classroom animals and the classroom art projects. I always like looking at people's stuff and like thinking about it at a young age. I was real inquisitive, What does that do about Christmas? Oh yeah. So Christmas got me to go to my first like fancy adult party. That was nice. That's a nice memory. And yeah, after that, Christmas was pretty cliche for me, like most American kids. It's all about the gifts. Then I got to start working. I remember my first job revolved around Christmas. My very first job was, I take that back. I lied. My second job revolved around Christmas. The second job I got was the Fred Meyer and Issaquah, the electronics department. And I was hired to start the day after Thanksgiving, the Black Friday sale. That was the first job I ever had where I'd wake up super early and I had to like dress up Christmassy according to Fred Meyer, whatever the definition of Christmassy was. And because I was a young buck, they put me in the back and I was loading giant ass TVs and DVD players. And this is in the mid 2000s when, a TV still was like 10 inches thick in the back and weighed 600 pounds. So basically my 10-hour shift was me just doing and just lifting shit, putting people's cars, and some people tried tipping me and they said I couldn't accept the tips, but the Italian in me said, "Hey, just take a tips, and nobody looking." But I said, I can't get fired on my first day, so I never took the tips. But so that's kind of a Christmas related. That was my first kind of big job there. So yeah, all in all, Christmas is probably my second or third favorite holiday. I still would get rid of it for another Halloween. That's never going to change. But I enjoy elements of Christmas. I really do. I enjoy the family atmosphere around it. I enjoy the festivity. I like how it just brings people together. There's nothing political or, well, I guess it is political on Christmas. You can't say Happy Holidays. It's Happy Christmas. Oh, God, I thought I could get away with something, but no, Christmas has become political, and it's absolutely a religious holiday. I mean, it's not really. Now it's a capitalistic holiday, but they wrap religion around it to make it easier pill to swallow, if you will. But no, I do enjoy it. I don't go crazy overboard. I'm not one of those sick fucks that like to go caroling. Ugh, disgusting. I do love me a nice Christmas sweater. The ugly Christmas sweaters are the best. I love white elephant parties. I do like shopping for people. I like shopping for people for gag gifts. If I'm ever shopping for something serious, that's when it's just like, oh god, what can I just give them a check? But sometimes it can be fun. LaFonda, chill. This isn't your podcast. You probably would get more listeners if it was your podcast, though. Anyway. I hate anything that's Christmas scented. So, like, if I'm going to go buy a candle and I see something called Jingle Bell Rock scented, I'm like, oh, this is going to smell like shit. And it does. It does. Nothing that's ever Christmas scented smells good. I do enjoy, however, Christmas-related candies and desserts. LaFonda, chill, gosh. Christmas commercials are absolute garbage. What really is hilarious to me are the Christmas commercials that you only see around this time of year when rich, usually white couples, buy each other cars without them knowing it. They're like, hey, I bought you a gift. And it's like a giant ass truck. And the wife's like, oops, I bought you one too. And it's like another giant ass truck, but a different color. And you're like, what kind of psychos buy a car for someone without telling anybody? If I was married and my wife did that, I'd be like, bitch, well, you gotta talk to me about this stuff. How much did this shit cost? I wouldn't be happy. Oh boy. But yeah, I like Christmas parties. It's just fun. You know what? I do enjoy a lot of things about Christmas. I really do. It's a hard balancing act with me though, because you do have the pandemonium around the capitalistic side of Christmas, and then you have the crazy religious overtone that the zealots kind of grab onto. But if you kind of strip away, the religious and the political and the capitalistic crap, and you just kind of look at it at the bare bones, to me anyway, Christmas is about family and community and just to be happy with what you got. And yeah, it's about gift giving, but it's never been about the amount that you spent on the gift, unless you're giving a gift to an asshole, a real pile of cunt trash. Then yeah, that's what if they only care about how much you spent on their gift, run them over with your car. You don't need people like that in your life. But it's about the gift giving, and some gifts are priceless. Something that could mean the world to me could be free because it could be handmade, or it could be something significant, like maybe a special shell on a beach. So it's not about the amount. It's not, strip that shit away. It's about being aware and being genuine and telling the people that you love and you like in your life, like, you know what? You mean a lot to me, or you mean this much to me. That's funny. You can grade people in your life by the gifts you give them. Someone you really love, or it's like a family member to you, you buy them an extravagant gift or something that means a lot. You can tell that you spent a lot of time thinking about it. Or if then you have someone you're like, you know what, I really don't want you in my life. If it wasn't for this person, you wouldn't even be in my life. So I still have to get you something. And you can tell it's a fucking gift card or something from the as seen on TV section in the store. Anyhow, I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but one of my favorite parts about Christmas is the movies. And I'm going to piss some people off. I'm going to make some people proud. I'm going to go over my favorite Christmas movies. All right? So let's keep this jingle jingle going, right? Let's get some chestnuts roasted on that motherfucking open fire. All right. So now we come to it at last. My favorite Christmas movies. Ho, ho, ho. Jolly, jolly Christmas. I'm going to lay it up a J really quick. I think this is called Dragon Butter. I don't know. I have to look that up. Oh, it's actually called Dutch Dragon. So I was close. It had dragon in the name. Ah. All right, take a look here. So, I have 3 categories here. The first being, in order, my favorite Christmas movies. The second one are movies that I love, but I don't quite think they fit my description of a Christmas movie. And the third category are Christmas movies that are, in my opinion, overrated, or movies that are considered Christmas movies that I do not consider Christmas movies. So I guess technically there's 4 categories, but who's keeping track? Now, for a movie to be considered a Christmas movie to me, the idea or the story has to revolve around Christmas. Christmas has to be the main focal point of said movie. So, let's kick things off. I'll save my favorite movie for last. So, starting off, The Nightmare Before Christmas is one of my all-time favorite movies overall, but it's my number 2 favorite Christmas movie. Now, everybody thinks that Tim Burton directed this. He did not. He wrote it, and I think he produced it. But some jabroni named Henry Selick directed it. I don't know. Even though Danny Elfman did the music like he does in all Tim Burton movies. But if you've never seen it, you're un-American. You need to see the movie. Now, Jack Skellington is an amazing character. Same thing with Sally. Same thing with the evil scientist. The Oogie Boogie. I mean, I could keep going. I love this movie. And I would say not only is it a Christmas movie, yet it's a family movie. It's also a Halloween movie. My number 3 favorite Christmas movie is Batman Returns from 1992. Another Tim Burton movie. This one is actually directed by him. This is the Michael Keaton Batman. Danny DeVito is playing Penguin. You got Michelle Pfeiffer playing Catwoman. Christopher Walken playing Max Schreck. Really hamming it up. And this actually, I'd have to really debate this, but it's definitely my number 1 or my number 2 favorite Batman movie of all time. It's up there with The Dark Knight, obviously because of Heath Ledger, Christian Bale, and the Fanoke that played Two-Face, Harvey Dent. So, Batman Returns, you may think, it's not a Christmas movie, it's a superhero movie. Not so fast, asshole. The whole movie takes place around Christmas. There's multiple scenes involving Christmas-like elements, Christmas tree, stockings. That woman who dies, she's a high kicker from some, I don't know, some Christmas Vegas show, I don't know. And Michael Keaton's Batman, well, I guess he says this as Bruce Wayne, tells Alfred many times throughout the movie, Merry Christmas, have a good Christmas, Christmas is coming, you know. So if you don't think it's a Christmas movie, you're wrong. That's my number 3 favorite Christmas movie. Moving on to my number 4. My 4th favorite movie is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Duh. I don't trust anybody who doesn't like this movie. You know, you need to cut out the toxic people out of your life. Start with the people in your life that do not like Christmas Vacation. Don't really need to go into it. This is a classic movie. Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, and of course, Randy Quaid before he went batshit bonkers. I mean, there's just so many classic scenes in this movie. I'm a big fan of when Beverly D'Angelo's parents show up and they wrapped a cat, and the cat later explodes because it's chewing on the Christmas decorations and the Christmas cables. I mean, it's a great movie. Randy Quaid dumping his shitter into the sewer. I mean, there's just so many good moments in this movie. It's a classic, and it's my number 4. A close 5th. Now, this almost overtook Christmas Vacation. I'm going to spend a lot of time thinking about this. Is Scrooged from 1988. Bill Murray's Scrooged. Now, I know a lot of people think this movie's too dark, too bleak, too depressing, and those people are morons. It's an amazing movie. If you don't know anything about it, it is a updated, well, as updated as 1988 can be, but it's an updated story of the, I think it's A Wonderful Life. Is that The Wonderful Life? Is that Scrooge? What movie is Scrooge from? It's not Scrooge. But anyway, you know how Scrooge sees the Christmas present, past, and future? Same kind of thing, except it's in the 80s. And so there's a lot of cocaine in this movie, and Bill Murray is just perfect for this. And, I mean, who else? I mean, Bobcat Goldthwait's amazing in it. Carol Kane is great as the Christmas present. David Johansen, the Christmas past, he's the lead singer of the New York Dolls. Oh, man. John Glover's excellent in it. Karen Allen, fresh out of Superman. I mean, this movie is a classic, baby. And yes, I understand it's a little more dark and macabre. And there's scenes about stapling antlers on little mouses' heads and everything. But you know what? I would still say this is a nice, friendly, family-friendly movie. It's rated PG-13. Sure, there's some curse words and some sex and some booze. But you know what? Kids got to learn someday. This is number 5. I capped this at my top 10, so we're halfway there. And again, another close call, but I had to put it underneath Christmas Vacation and Scrooge, my number 6 favorite movie, Bad Santa. Now, this is not a family-friendly film. It's actually one of my favorite comedies of all time. I mean, Billy Bob Thornton, Bernie Mac, Lauren Graham. God, who played the midget there? Well, I mean, he actually is a little person. I know you can't say midget. Yeah, go fuck yourself. For this argument, he's a midget. Tony Cox, and of course, the late John Ritter. I would not watch this with old people or children. But yes, this is a very raunchy, over-the-top comedy. A lot of sex, a lot of violence, a lot of cursing, a lot of boozing. But it is so funny. So funny. And I would say this is in my top 20 favorite comedies of all time. But as a Christmas movie, it is number 6. Moving on to number 7. Well, baby, we got Jingle All the Way from 1996. We got Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad. And I think we got the late, Phil Hartman's in it, the late Phil Hartman. And we got Tom Hanks' wife, Rita Wilson. That's right, Jim Belushi played the mall Santa. I forgot about that. And this is probably the worst movie overall in terms of like dialogue, plot, acting, whatever. But you know what? It's an enjoyable movie. Saw this movie when it came out. I was 10 years old, 10 or 11. And it was an instant favorite of mine. And although I don't watch it every year for Christmas, I tend to watch it every now and then. I love it. What's the guy's name? Turbo Man. Oh, man. I am surprised that they never sold Turbo Man action figures. Maybe they did. This movie's rated PG, so you can get the whole family involved. And you can even get the old parents watching it, the old grandparents to watch it. And, oh, my God. I mean, Sinbad. This is when he was everywhere. I really miss Sinbad. The last time I saw Sinbad, he was in that great It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode. But anyway. Moving on to number 8. My 8th favorite Christmas movie is Home Alone, the first one. Now, you may be asking yourself, that's not a Christmas movie, Angelo. Well, again, you're fucking wrong. His family leaves him for Christmas Vacation. He decorates the house for Christmas. Christmas is everywhere in this movie. And there's Christmas music. And if you don't think it's a Christmas movie, again, I don't like to usually tell people that their opinion is wrong, but your opinion is dead wrong if you don't think this is a Christmas movie. I mean, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern and Catherine O'Hara as the mom, and of course, one of my favorite actors of all time, specifically when I was a child, was John Candy. And yeah, I mean, if you don't know Home Alone, get out onto that rock, man. I don't understand how you don't know what Home Alone is. If you are a true-blooded American, and speaking of American blood, if you don't bleed red, white, and blue, get out of America, baby. But right after it is my number 9 favorite movie, and again, it's so close to overtaking Home Alone. Gremlins from '84. Oh, now this one, again, I keep saying the term classic, but this is a classic movie. And again, you may be asking yourself, oh, Angela's dead wrong. This ain't a Christmas movie. You're wrong again, mofo. Because this movie takes place during Christmas. Christmas decorations, presents are given. And I mean, I'm pretty sure Mogwai was a Christmas present. And yeah, this is a Christmas movie. Now, it's a little weird one. And I would say for a PG movie, this is the most violent PG movie on here. I mean, shit, they put that gremlin in the microwave and you saw that motherfucking melt. That still haunts me. And but they make up for it by shooting that old bitch out the window from her wheelchair accessible ramp. I mean, even as a kid. Now, this movie came out in '84, before I was even born. But when I saw it, I must have been 6 or 7, maybe even younger. And I was a little scared of the gremlins. They scared me. But when that old bitch shot out the window, I was like, yeah, this movie's great. So they made up for it. I love this movie. All right. And my final and my top 10 list is The Preacher's Wife from 1996. The Denzel Washington and Whitney Houston and Courtney B. Vance movie. Oh shit, Lionel Richie's in that movie? I need to watch that again. I don't remember him in there. I saw this when it came out in 96. Again, I was 10 years old and I already forgot what movie came out in 96. Was it Jingle All the Way? Are you telling me Jingle All the Way and The Preacher's Wife came out in the same year within a month of each other? Good God almighty. Anyhow, The Preacher's Wife, it's a little long. It's over 2 hours. It didn't need to be. It's probably the most not well-known movie on this list. It's about Denzel Washington plays an angel or a guardian angel. I don't know the fucking difference. He comes down to earth to help a preacher, Courtney B. Vance, save his church and his family. And his wife is played by Whitney Houston, fresh from her role in The Bodyguard. You know, when she covered that Dolly Parton song, I will always love you. You know, the dialogue, the acting, the plot, meh, but it's such a good movie. And, you know, if you're watching it with a religious family, this one's a good go-to. A lot of God, a lot of Jesus, a lot of angels, you know, a lot of that bullshit, but it's a great movie. Denzel Washington is really good in this. His chemistry with Whitney Houston is great. Courtney B. Vance plays a real depressing motherfucker. That's one of his shining roles, is when he plays a depressing motherfucker. Now, it's labeled comedy, drama, fantasy. Just because there's an angel doesn't mean it's a fantasy. I would say yes, comedy, drama, emphasis on the drama, and it's a family movie. It is. Okay, now moving on to movies that I love, but I don't think they fit the criteria for a Christmas movie. Now, I'm going to piss off a lot of people with this first one. And this is actually something that I've changed my mind on. Last year, I would have called this movie a Christmas movie. Now that I've had time to think and analyze it, I don't think it's a Christmas movie. And we got, it's going to piss a lot of people off, Die Hard. Now, I know it's the hip thing the last couple of years to really get into people's faces. It's like, Die Hard's a Christmas movie, motherfucker. Well, just because it takes place during Christmas, and he does kill one of the henchmen, takes his gun and say, now I have an AK, ho, ho, ho. But again, the movie itself doesn't have a lot to do with Christmas besides it taking place around Christmas. Not a lot of Christmas music. There's definitely no Santa Clausing, no caroling, no presents, not even a Christmas dinner. So, as much as it pains me to say this, Die Hard, to me, is not a Christmas movie. It's a great movie, and it has Christmas elements, but not enough to crack the list. Moving on, Lethal Weapon. I love this movie. This was back in the day when Mel Gibson could do no wrong. 1987. Now, is there another actor that exemplifies late 80s and all 90s American cinema than Mel Gibson? Him and Nicolas Cage are just hamming it up back in those days. I don't know how Mel Gibson and Nicolas Cage never made like a face-off type movie together. That would have been amazing. But Lethal Weapon, like Die Hard, is an action movie, action crime thriller. And, I think they were released roughly around the same time. But like Die Hard, it takes place during Christmas. But I cannot say it's a Christmas movie. There was that shootout at the Christmas tree lot, and I even think there may have been a Christmas dinner. However, it doesn't check enough boxes for me to consider it a Christmas movie. Great movie. In fact, HBO Max has all 4 Lethal Weapon movies out, and one of these days I'm going to really get danked up and just watch all 4 of them. Have myself a nice Lethal Weapon day. And I recommend everyone watch Lethal Weapon movies. I mean, again, if you don't like Lethal Weapon movies, maybe go to North Korea. You know what I'm saying? Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, Gary Busey, peak crazy Gary Busey. And it's just so amazing. Darlene Love, perfect. I love it. And then you get the later ones with Joe Pesci, and I think the 4th one's got Chris Rock and Jet Li. I think that was Jet Li's first American film. Anyway, don't get me started on Lethal Weapon history. I love this shit. Lastly but not least, another movie that I love, and it takes place around Christmas time, but to me it's not a Christmas movie, is Edward Scissorhands. This may be one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I've seen this movie probably 10 times. I still cry like a little bitch every single time I watch it. Sad tears, happy tears, it doesn't matter. I bawl in this movie. Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder. I don't think you can call yourself a friend of mine if you don't like this movie. It's another Tim Burton movie, which is funny because to me, I'm not a big Tim Burton fan. I like Tim Burton, but I'm not like, oh, Tim Burton's doing it, I have to see it. But he's got 3 movies on this list, so what the fuck do I know? Oh, God, I love it. You know, I may watch Edward Scissorhands tonight now. I love this movie. And if you don't know what Edward Scissorhands is, let's see, I'm running out of countries to send people. I've already sent people to Russia and North Korea. I guess I could send you to where the Chinese are keeping the Uyghur Muslims if you want to go there. There you go. If you don't like Edward Scissorhands, I'm going to put you in the same concentration camp that the Chinese are putting the Uyghur Muslims. But you know what? Disney looked the other way, so can Angelo. Not just Disney, but the NBA too. Both of those organizations have their mouth solely around China's wee-wee. Now we're going to piss a lot of people off. I'm going to talk about 2 movies that fit all the credentials for it to be a Christmas movie. I just think they're overrated. Now, I'm not saying these movies are not Christmas movies because they are. They're just not that good to me, or they're overrated. Now, the first one that I just don't think is that good of a movie that people seem to love is The Polar Express. I know. I was excited to watch it for the first time too, and I didn't enjoy it. I thought this movie kind of sucks. The CGI is kind of garbage, and some of the kids scare me. Got a little older. I saw it again. Same thing. So, to me, massively overrated. I don't think it's even that good of a movie. And did Tom Hanks have to play all the roles? Come on, man. There's starving actors that would have loved to be the conductor or the hobo. Now, I understand Tom Hanks. You want to play Scrooge and Santa Claus? That's fine. And you want to play the hero boy? That's fine. But do you need to play the father and the conductor and the hobo? I love you, Tom Hanks, but go fuck yourself on this one. I feel bad that you got COVID, but you seem to come out of it. Now, if the Die Hard and the Polar Express comments didn't piss you off, maybe this one will. And I'm not trying to piss anybody off. But to me, there is not a more overrated, overhyped Christmas movie of the last 30 years than Elf. I know. To me, Elf is an okay movie. I've seen it 3 times, and it's never really grown on me. I think Will Ferrell is way overdoing it, and I guess that is the point. And I know that James Caan looked confused during the entire movie, which I don't blame him. Bob Newhart and Ed Asner are pretty good. Mary Steenburgen's not in it enough. Zooey Deschanel, fine as a motherfucker. I still love Zooey Deschanel. Oh my God, I would run over so many nuns just to... Ugh. Anyway. But yeah, I don't understand why this movie has become like the biggest Christmas movie of my generation. I don't get it. I think it's an okay movie. If I had to rate it, it would be, in the high 5s, low 6s. I don't understand why it has such an appeal to people. And I get it. I love Jon Favreau, who directed it. By the way, without Jon Favreau, we wouldn't have the Marvel universe, and we wouldn't have this new Star Wars universe. I mean, he and Robert Downey Jr. initiated the Iron Man movies, and then he initiated the Spider-Man and just kind of the whole MCU universe. So you can thank Jon Favreau for that. Then he did the same thing with Star Wars. Him and, oh God, who's the guy that was in charge of the Clone Wars and Rebels and the Mandalorian? He's kind of the new George Lucas. Oh God, I have to look that up. It's going to bug me. But anyway, as I look that up, yeah, I like the idea of Elf. I like the plot, but it just never really did it for me, Never really did it for me. All right, let me look this up here, because this is going to drive me nuts. Between Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, that's who the other guy is, Dave Filoni. George Lucas should have retired decades ago and signed everything over to Favreau and Filoni. So anyway, you can thank Jon Favreau for the Marvel, for Star Wars, and I guess for Elf. But again, overrated. I don't even think that's that good of a movie. And I don't know why people lose their shit over it. Maybe someone can teach me. Someone can illuminate me. But now we've come to it. My all-time favorite movie for Christmas is A Christmas Story. You're going to shoot your eye out. Oh, Ralphie. Now, it could be that I looked exactly like Ralphie when I was a kid. And I still kind of do. But there's just nothing wrong with this movie. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfect. And it became a household favorite. One of the very few things that my mother and father have ever agreed on is that they both love this movie. My sister, she hated it with a passion, but whatever. I watch this movie every year for Christmas. Sometimes I say, fuck it. What is it, April? I'll watch it again. It does not matter. There are so many classic one-liners, infamous scenes, and the same scenes that made me laugh 20, 30 years ago. Well, not 30, I was 4, but you know what I'm saying. Still make me laugh today. And yeah, some people are saying I didn't really age all that well. Well, you know what? Get some joy in your life. Stop looking at things through a 2020 lens. Look at it for when it was. Yeah, some of these movies from the 80s absolutely did not age well. I mean, I think the last Bill and Ted movie before the remake, they said the word fag a couple of times. Yeah, you cringe a little bit, but then you move on with your life. What are you going to do? You're going to cancel Bill and Ted Go to Hell? Go fuck yourself. Anyhow, I love A Christmas Story. I love Ralphie. My dream is to get a leg lamp like the one in the movie. I mean, Peter Billingsley is the man. Not to mention, he also went into the back end of movies. It's funny, you would think this movie would have launched his career, but it kind of didn't. He's a good-looking guy. But he and Jon Favreau are also connected to the Marvel Universe. And he also did F is for Family. He's buddies with Bill Burr. I mean, I'm just looking back here. He's the executive producer on so many big shows that you just had no idea on. I mean, I'm just looking here. Iron Man. He did a lot of sports stuff. F is for Family, the opening act. I think he had something to do with the newer Spider-Man movies. I know he was in the latest Spider-Man movie, Far From Home. He was playing Jake Gyllenhaal, Mysterio's second in command. He could be, spoiler alert, my opinion, he could be the new Mysterio in the new Spider-Man movies. But anyway, what am I doing here? Peter Billingsley, you're the man. And yeah, so that is my top 10 favorite Christmas movies. The movies that I think are great but are not Christmas movies. And then the Christmas movies that are just overrated or overhyped or just not that good. So I'm sure I'm pissing everybody off. My opinion, you don't like it? I'm going to put some coal in your stocking. And anyway, on that happy note, I think we can wrap things up. I want everyone to have a jolly, jolly Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Put some nice edibles out for Santa Claus. And yeah, let's keep this train wreck of a year going.